can only be only one, only one, only one.
How to news in 2025. How we receive information truly affects our perspectives on a lot of things, pretty much everything. And a lot of times in our microwave society, I feel like people want to just be, I don't know, in the in crowd. They don't even have the knowledge to talk about the things that they're talking about. For example, a lot of people didn't even listen to the Lil Wayne album, but they saw on Twitter, social media that it was terrible. So they posted that it was terrible just to fit in. I'm not saying the Lil Wayne album was good. I'm just saying this is just our society. Another example, SJ is a free throw merchant. If you look at the numbers, he's not. To be quite frank, it's quite baffling at just how many people are actually saying that. I guess the greatest of all time, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant's, I guess they were free throw merchants too because they averaged more free throws per game. But that's neither here nor there. But what you can take from this sports analogy is the old echo chamber. It's prevalent in everything. It does not just stop at sports. Politics is heavily at play as well. Again, where you get your information, it's going to affect how you think of things, especially if you're not aware while reading certain things. You take your brain out of it and you just let somebody just feed information to you and you don't even like source it or think about it or you just accept it. That's a problem, bro. So I want to help as much as I possibly can, or at least try.
What led to this discussion?
Well, one, obviously I find it important. I mean, information truly affects how we think of everything. How it's fed to us is truly important. And if we don't think about the things that are fed to us, then it really shapes the writer to really manipulate our thoughts and how we act and just our opinions on certain things. And if you give them the power to essentially treat you like a puppet based off words because they know that you're going to eat this up, let's be honest. A lot of liberals, a lot of the far left, they're very emotional. It's not a lot of logic behind those actions. Pure emotion. Now, just because I say that does not mean I agree with conservatives. They have their own problems, and I will even say that a lot of their problems are morally wrong and they're hypocrites. But that's neither here nor there. We're talking about the left right now. So what you see right now in LA is sad on both sides. And I agree with both sides. But it's sad on both sides because I feel like at some point you're not even fighting for America, you're fighting America. And at some point, America has to fight back. So, I don't know. It's a sad situation, but someone has to keep this in perspective. So, I'm going to try.
Before we begin, I believe it's important for the listener to understand what you're actually doing. Explain that briefly and give a brief preface as to what you're thinking before you do research.
That makes sense. So obviously this title is called How to News in 2025. Again, I'm answering the question that my friend asked me. How do I get my information? How do I get to the point to where I feel like I'm confident enough to talk about certain things and have a supporting argument about certain things? I'm not here to push a narrative. I just want to help people at least see how, I don't know, someone who critically thinks about to form an opinion and have an opinion on something, if that makes sense. And yes, the topic is immigration, ICE, things that's taking place right now in LA. So I'm sure I'm not going to say the words that's going to please everybody, but we know that shit's impossible anyway, so I'm not even going to think about it. So before I get started, I feel like I have to essentially set the table. Essentially, I'm going to read information and I'm already going to have preconceived notions based off of my experiences or my perspective that I already have. So what do we know? What do I think? And again, I'm not saying that my shit is correct. I'm just saying this is what I'm thinking. Again, just walking through the process. You're just here. So obviously this is about ICE immigration. It's in LA. It was a protest turned to a riot. I don't know how it all started. Maybe we can find that out. Maybe we're not. I don't know. how I'm thinking that it started. Maybe it was a raid that went bad. Maybe they tried to take an innocent man. Maybe it was a mistake. Um, ICE. Do I agree with ICE? I agree with ICE just as much as I agree with the police. Now, if you ask me if I agree with the police, sure, go get the bad guys. That's their job. Now, do I agree with ICE? Sure, that's the illegal immigrants. Go get the illegal immigrants. Now, I'm not saying I'm anti-immigrants. Not saying that shit. But I do believe that there is a right way and a wrong way to do things. Now, to the people who say let them all in, I am pretty sure you lock your doors at night. Now, it's just a principle thing. It's just a safety thing. That's just what you do. It's just what you do. You need to know who's in your freaking house when you go to sleep at night and who's not. You keep outside, outside, and inside, inside. I don't know how that's a hard concept to understand, but unfortunately it is. Anywho, you have people fighting for that, and then you have people fighting against that, and then you have the people in between who's just like, and then you have people who are using the moment just to cause bullshit just because some people are just like that. Then you have some people paying people to incite bullshit, just like they did with the Black Lives Matter thing. Sure, there was a lot of great people out there with the Black Lives Matter actually protesting, but all it takes is 5 people to cause a ruckus. That's just gonna domino effect. Same thing can apply here. So we don't really know what's going on. We don't really know what's taking place. Let's dive in. Let's see what's taking place. Let's see what they're talking about. Let's critically think. And then we can form an opinion. So that's kind of how I'm thinking now. Again, I don't know how it started. Maybe we'll figure it out. But this shit takes a lot of context clues. And sometimes it's not just oh, this is facts right here. Sometimes you never get that. But either way, let's dive in. Now, sorry, you're going to miss this face, at least for a little bit. But you may see me after. All right, so before we even get started, I don't think that there's a right or wrong way to do things as long as you are cross-referencing things. Clearly, I am on ChatGPT just for a start. I'm not a fan of AI, but damn, this motherfucker's good. I have to use it. You are doing yourself a disservice if you're just like, I'm not going to use AI. I'm just going to rely on whatever the hell you rely on. But again, I could be tripping by doing this, but I do think it's a good start because you can literally ask this motherfucker anything. What's taking place in LA? Goes through all different types of sources. All right now it's talking about the weather, so I guess I got to be more specific. With the ICE raids, what started it? I don't think I'm yelling at it. Recent protests in LA. Series of immigration and custom raids targeting undocumented individuals and those with pending removal orders. Over 100 people is a lot. Some with legal statuses, so there was definitely mistakes. So you have one community essentially fearing that they could be ripped apart from their families and be legal at the same time. So that's definitely a part of it. And now there's larger scale operations, so that's something to be worried about. And they are obviously pointing the finger at Trump. Not a fan of Trump, but I definitely believe in securing the border. I mean, a mandate for 30,000 undocumented immigrants per day is crazy. That's insane. I mean, that's going to cause a lot of ICE officials to literally make a lot of mistakes because they're trying to get a large number. It's insane. All right, so now we're obviously on CNN. Before I even scroll through CNN, I just want to talk about these legacy sites. You want to understand the tones before you go through them. For instance, CNN is more Democratic. Fox is more Republican. New York Times is more Democrat. So you have to understand that before you go through these sites, because if you don't understand tones, then you're just going to let these people just manipulate and basically treat you like a puppet. We have far too many puppets in our society right now. So stop taking this CNN or Fox or Yahoo, AOL. I don't care where you get your information from. Stop taking it and just believing it. Cross check your information. Super important. Now, again, a lot of stuff going on in the world. We are looking for one specific thing. And here's actually a good example of just a picture usage. And hopefully Fox will have the opposites of this. But why would they use this picture? Before we even talk about the stuff that we're actually going to talk about. So just critiquing this picture right here and why they use this picture. Again, this is more Democratic. So Democrats hate Trump. They use this picture because it shows that, the picture focuses more on Elon, and Elon is in this powerful position, hands crossed, as if he's just, king. And then you have Trump blurry looking up at Elon. Elon has a smirk on his face. So he just seems in this picture as if he is just superior. And again, this is a emotional tactic. This is a prime example of understand why they're using certain things to appeal to people's consciousness to a certain extent. But again, that's just an example. I could be reaching, but hopefully you reach when you read. Let's see, LA protests. Let's go through this and see what they're talking about. There's no sanctuary from federal immigration laws in California. I mean, obviously it's a state, so you definitely have federal laws that apply to that state. U.S. authorities looking at hundreds of people who potentially committed violence during protests. Well, I'm sure that there's definitely some people out there just taking advantage of this, probably trying to get free shit, sell it, see it as an opportunity, unfortunately. But that's what happens when you have this economy the way it is and it's hard to get anything. Some people are going to see opportunities where other people wouldn't. It's just what it is. I don't know. I'm not agreeing with it. I'm just saying I understand that philosophy. 2 men arrested after throwing cocktails at law enforcement officers. That's pretty wild. Democrats said state must push back if Trump cuts federal funding. California has been a shit show for a very long time, so I just asked all the Californians moving away. But I don't know. This is not really telling us nothing that we don't know. I mean, the Marines deployed near LA is still ongoing. It's just kind of one of these things to where they're not really saying much. Now, let's go to Fox. Let's see if that's different. All right, so here we are at Fox. Now, again, Fox, more conservative. So you're going to see strong images of Donald Trump. There's a reason why this is the front page. Now, conservatives appeal to conservatives. So the first thing that they're going to see is illegal immigrant charged with attempted murder after attack officers in LA riots. They're going to say, lock them all up, throw them away, ship them all, deport them all. That's what the conservative side is going to say. Again, it has this undertone of they're appealing to the audience that comes here. So you won't find Democrats, for the most part, watching Fox News because of stuff like this. I mean, they don't want to see it. Know it happens, but I'm sure it's rare. But this, again, this is why you have two left and right just bashing against each other. And then, let's see, have a better example. Have probably on another, let's go, New York Times. They probably have a picture of a family being ripped apart. Marine prepared to deploy in LA as more protests are playing across U.S. So right here, this shows a peaceful protest. It does. This again, New York Times is more democratic. So this is going to show pretty much anything and everything that the military does wrong. So it's going to show press reporters getting shot, mistakes being made. It's going to show all that stuff. This you're not going to see any riots or anything destructive on the Democratic sites. You're just not going to see it. Now, again, you go to the Republican sites or the conservative sites, you're going to see things that don't look as peaceful as this. Because if it was just like this is great. I'm actually interested in what they're talking about with Trump.
Under the Trump administration, this anarchy will not stand.
I think that incites more fear into the left because just that snippet, which is crazy, they could take that snippet and run with whatever story that they want to run with. Well, this is Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal tends to be more conservative, so it's going to be more supportive of, obviously, the National Guard being present. It's going to have opinions such as this, send in the troops for real. Let's click on it and see what they're talking about. So when local police can't restore order, the federal government has a duty to do so with a show of force. So essentially this story, no, I'm not a subscribed member, but it just kind of tells me that the local police department can't necessarily handle what's taking place. And obviously I don't think it should be on them to handle that type of situation. So I think it's normal and natural for, the government to step in and help the state. I think that's their job. That's their due diligence. But again, this is definitely going to be more supportive of military being there. Doesn't really tell us anything. Have to be a subscribed member to read these stories, which is unfortunate because who wants to pay for manipulation? I don't know, but obviously a lot of people do it since they have the option. So stupid. But that's Wall Street Journal. Let's go to one more. Let's see what Reuters is talking about. Reuters is, I don't want to say they just completely just say the facts, but I think they're more fair than what I've seen, especially when dealing with CNN or Fox or something as egregiously as those. Al Jazeera is one of my favorite ones. Troops in LA can detain individuals. This should say as protests spread across the U.S. So right here, this is essentially showing support of the troops, or it's just showing how scary it could be to be facing the troops. So again, this could be one of those pictures to where why I like Reuters. You could see both sides. This is kind of like the glass half full, half empty thing. So for the most part, I can't really tell if they're left or right, and I like that. ICE's tactics draw criticism as it triples. I mean, this is like a bad look for ICE. So that's like pro Democratic right there. But then right here, Trump wants to liberate Los Angeles. Residents say no. I don't know. I don't know how to take this. Which is, again, why I like this website. Oh, this is Irish. All right, let's go to one more. Let's go to Al Jazeera. Obviously, this is the biggest story in the world right now, unfortunately, and we're not talking about this because we're talking about LA right now. So let's go with this, see what they're talking about. And again, Al Jazeera is not owned by the United States. Again, just like you saw with Reuters.com, they're literally showing just a picture of military. Now, this could see as, pro-military. This could see as protest. Just depends on your angle. Half glass, half empty. Again, another reason why I like these two sites. White House frames Los Angeles protests as threat to an American culture. That's an interesting story. Interesting headline for sure. Now let's go to our phone. Social media is definitely a form of news. Just kind of scroll through, see what they're showing, see what they're saying. I mean, that's a crazy ass scene. That's insane. They're saying ICE out of LA. So essentially, fuck ICE. There should be no ICE. There should be no immigration police. I mean, how insane is that theory? That's like saying there shouldn't be police. That's like saying that we shouldn't have rules while driving. Think of that for a second. Be a shit show. I just don't understand. I mean, this just gives the right all the ability to do whatever the fuck they want to do to stop this shit. This is insane.
There was earlier this morning, apparently a raid by ICE here at a business called Ambiance. Then a crowd started forming outside the perimeter. They started actually surrounding these buildings.
We have a piece of video. You can see that they've gotten the people and they put them in these vans. It was a very strange sight to see because they started to leave and there were people who were protesting, trying to keep these vans from getting out. And the video seen here is deeply troubling because these officers, look, there's that person in front, and the officers did not stop, these agents or whatever federal authorities they were. And notice how this person continued to stay in front, and the officer did not slow. No officer came out and tried to get this out. And then watch as the person in front falls and hits his head on the ground. And that just seemed like it was an injury. But then these agents then moved aside and then immediately took off. And we watched these agents almost as if it was a...
Yes, I have a daily limit.
Chase. They got together in the caravan, and we watched as those agencies or those three vans went to the
just
wall.
Crazy. I mean, what do you expect the guy to do? Get out and stop and see if you're okay? You're sitting in front of the freaking car. I hate to even sound like Uncle Tom right now. Yeah, some of these motherfuckers are just literally, quote unquote, having fun. I don't know.
What's the windblower for? That's for the fucking tear gas to blow it back at those motherfuckers. If you have a fucking blower, bring it on. Push it back. You can say something to Donald Trump right now. What do you say? Donald Trump, you can suck my left nut. You can get out of my drawer. You're just making something how you're going to give it a time of day. And you can start to shine but make it look like a fucking loser.
And this is why critical thinking is always going to be top tier. Independent thinking is supreme. We're not supposed to agree. Now, certain things, yeah, thou shalt not kill. Yeah, thou shalt not steal. Yeah, thou shalt not hurt, harm, mess with other people. Treat people fairly, respectfully. Yeah, we should all have those moralistic things, although some people don't, which the far right are hypocrites, and some of them do have moralistic issues. And I haven't really talked about them in this episode, but they'll have their light. They'll have their day. Yetix, how do we conclude this episode?
In order to conclude, you must explain right, wrong, why. From left or right. If there's rights or wrongs.
Right or wrong? So I agree with both sides. The left side for standing up for what black people have been fighting for a long time, forever, which is justice. You know, we understand that mistakes happen. But we also understand that there's egregious mistakes that just shouldn't happen, like Breonna Taylor being shot in her sleep, or I don't know, a legal citizen being brought in and questioned when he's a legal citizen. That shouldn't happen either. Ripping apart families with legal citizenship, shit like that shouldn't happen. So I stand up for, those facts. I understand exactly what they're fighting for and why they're fighting bullshit government. I get it. Things that's happening to them that shouldn't happen. Oh, story of our life. I see their side. I see their opinion. They don't want their families to be ripped apart. But on the opposite side, I see the right side when we're talking about just the pure fact that this is the law. As an agency, that's their job, is to uphold that standard and get illegals out of the country or vet them to make them legal. So I see both parties as right and wrong. Now, I do think just the basic knowledge of just fuck ICE, I think that that's a wild concept because, like I said in the video, I don't know if you've heard, but that's like saying take away the driving laws and just let people drive. You just have mass chaos. Laws are put into place, not like we agree with all of them, but they're in place to keep some type of foundational order in a sense. And with this specific one, immigration, I do think it's as black and white as locking your door at night just because you don't want to wake up and have, I don't know, 15 people in your living room eating your cereal in underwear with no socks. I think that would be a horrible morning, horrible way to start your day. Now, I do dislike the fact that when people say, just simply protect the border, the left would argue that protect from what? We're not criminals. No one's saying you're criminals. Um, well, not all of you, but there probably, which I'm not saying probably because there is a small percentage that is, just like there's a small percentage in every state, in every race that fucks it up. Look at us. No one's calling you a criminal. And I also don't agree with the fact that just because I believe in a secure border, that means that I think that you guys are taking jobs. If you're getting the jobs, I don't care about none of that. I just understand the theory that you have to protect home base. Before anything, you have to protect home. But there's also things that the government does that I obviously don't agree with. Israel, obviously don't agree with Israel. Where we pay money to in other foreign countries, how we spend our tax, that's neither here nor there. I'm sure they'll have their day as well. But so many people make it super what it's not. And I think it's a very super simple concept. And I said this earlier, at some point, you're literally just fighting America. And at some point, America has to fight back. So, like I said, I don't think that there's a right or a wrong. I think both is in the right and the wrong. But ultimately, right now, I think this is just a dick measuring contest at this point. It's a matter of who can take it the furthest. And I don't know. It could get ugly. So, I don't know.
If you're on the left or an illegal immigrant, what would you do? Do you think your thoughts would change?
I don't think I would change if I'm on the far left. I think I'm middle enough to see the left sides, first and foremost. If I was an illegal immigrant, I would honestly go turn myself in, give grace so I can get grace. Maybe if I cooperate, maybe they'll say, look at my record, be like, you have no offenses, you've been taking care of your families, you've been doing everything the right way. You look American to me. Pass. Not sure how that would go, but I think you know, when I'm looking at what's going on in the world right now, or, you know, specifically America, I would rather, you know, take that chance rather than just get ripped apart and never see my family again. Um, that's what I would do if I was on the far left. Now, if I'm on the far right, I would definitely be sure that I'm getting, you know, the correct illegals. I wouldn't be doing random raids and shit like that. I would make it very apparent that, you know, I found you, I got you, type thing. Turn yourself in. You know, we can do this respectfully. I can come in. You can come in, vet you, get you taken care of. Or if you're just a known criminal, I probably have to do some raids and some. You know, criminals don't play fair. That's the key about it. So it's like I see both sides, but at the same time, I see that there's things that shouldn't happen that's happening on both sides. But I also know just from BLM, the protests with Black Lives Matter, there's anarchists, there's people that's paid, there's people who just, I don't know, they get off on shit like this. So I don't know. Either way, unfortunately, it's going to be interesting to see what takes place. There's now some news spreading that there's going to be protests taking place all across America these next few days, weeks. So, I mean, we'll see. But at the very least, maybe a revolution will take place. Maybe we can get the right people in place in positions of power. You know, real people. Nonetheless, I appreciate you if you watched this video. Again, this was simply to show how one could get from point A to point B. If you have different theories, different perspective, please just let me know. I'd like to hear your argument. So, again, that's what we're here for. We're here to bounce ideas off of each other. We all don't know it all. Some of us know nothing. Some of us are trying. Some of us are trying harder than others. Some of us aren't trying at all. Reach past the surface. Reach deeper. I will see you next time.